And last but not least here, we have Nier. You have quite a title for us.
Yeah.
Would you like to
Yeah.
introduce it?
Bit of bit of a cult hit, bit of a
Yeah.
poppin'
It
poppin'
popped off
series.
all our social media. Yeah.
Yeah. I watched Mahou Shoujo ni Akogarete. Uh, which has been localized to Gushing Over Magical Girls.
Yes.
Or I Admire Magical Girls and. It's a terrible title. But
Yeah.
um this is a Magical Girls
Manga?
series, if you couldn't tell. It is
It's a light novel original, if I remember correctly?
um
Or no,
I
it
think
was a
it was
manga.
a web manga. Like a
Okay. Okay.
yeah, I think. But this is a comedy ecchi series. Big emphasis on the ecchi. This is a Asahi production um series.
This is a Yuri
Uh
series, by the way?
yeah.
Yes.
I mean it's
Okay.
it's it's Yuri ecchi, right? Like it's sort of,
Yeah.
there's no like romance, you know what I mean? This is ecchi. Um
It's just it's like fucking Kohime Muso anime, right? Where it's
it's
like
pretty hardcore. So
really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I don't know if this is airing on streaming in uncensored or if this is like actually like airing on TV with like full frontal nudity. But yeah, like like tits out for this one. Which is pretty surprising because I don't think I've seen um an ecchi series with like full on nipples in a long time, right? Uh, like usually they just have like convenient censoring or light bars or whatever, right? Um, but yeah. Anyway, um, basic synopsis is the main character, Utena Hiragi, um, is kind of a loser. She's kind of a girl failure, as the kids say. Um, but she's a big fan of magical girls, right? Like she's a
Yes.
bit of an otaku, right? She spends all her allowance on figures and merch, and she reads like newsletters and shit. And, she's a bit of a dork. Um, and then one day, she ends up getting approached by Venelita, which is a you know sort of mascot character that magical girl series are sort of known for. Um, and he says, "Hey, you want to be a magical girl?" And she says, "Yeah, obviously, duh." And then she transforms, and her outfit is pretty perverted, pretty exposed. And she's like, what the fuck?" Um, and then Venelita goes, "Yeah, you're a villain now. You're a bad guy. You're gonna fight the magical girls." And she's like, "No, I don't want to do that, right?" Because she likes magical girls. Um, but she ends up getting sort of suckered into it. And her power ends up being she has like this riding crop, right? You know what I mean? Like a horse crop thing. Um, and if she sort of smacks like an inanimate object, it will turn into a monster, right? Um, and she ends up hitting a flower, and it turns into this big tentacle creature, right? And it
Okay.
ties up the magical girls, and uh, ecchi hijinks ensue. Um, and she ends up sort of awakening to this secret um, sadist,
Sadism? Sadist, yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
sadist urge that she has. Um, and the
Good
series kind
stuff.
of just goes from there, right? She ends up sort of um, coming out of her
This is
shell a little bit here and there. Um, ecchi hijinks. There's a bit of slice of life stuff here and there. A lot of it's
yeah.
sort of just, character banter, comedy, um, with some pretty hardcore ecchi. Um, a
Okay,
lot
so
of different types
this
of.
was okay, so this was This was broadcast on ATX. I was wondering because it's
Okay.
like obviously this is already like this is almost guaranteed an 11 p.m. Series or like a
Yeah.
1 a.m. series. Like not even like question. Like this wouldn't even be like a 9, 10 p.m. kind of stuff. But I was just like browsing through because I know High School DD and I think what was that fucking one where uh uh uh, Imosai, right? Seikin, Saimo
Right.
or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Recently, my sister has been unusual or whatever, the one with fucking chastity belt.
Yeah.
That shit and High School DD, I think were both ATX, and they were, I
Right.
think, both late night for
Yeah.
sure. And I was like, the only way this would ever come close to like mainstream public like air race is if it was in like a midnight slot in ATX.
Yeah, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
Yeah, yeah,
Cause yeah, this is like the only thing like basically the only thing that they don't show in this is like vagina, right?
yeah.
Like they show
Is
pretty
fucking
much everything
Christ.
else. It's pretty wild. Um, but it's also pretty fun. It's a pretty fun show. It's very
Episodic?
uh yeah, it's very episodic. It's also very like self-aware, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It sort of
Yeah, it better
knows
be.
yeah, it sort of knows the high school girl trope or higher magical girl tropes that a lot of series have. It sort of riffs on them. Um
Does it make
the
any specific like series references, or is it generally like,
No, just
oh,
kind of
like
like
imagine?
general, yeah,
Oh,
like,
it'd
you
be
know,
cool if it did like
yeah,
the like anime actual
yeah.
references. Dig
Um
it.
but you know, they sort of allude to the fact that the magical girls are sort of kind of um like they're not really like doing anything, right? Like the whole like fighting monsters thing is like there's a line early on where it's like, you know, magical girls only exist because there are villains to fight, right? Um and then, you know, they sort of imply that like a lot of this stuff is kind of just um for show basically because the magical girls in this series um they have like, you know, merchandising. They do like magazine sponsorships and photo shoots and stuff like
Oh,
that.
okay. It's kind of like
Um,
Shy and like some of the other sort of modern
yeah.
hero slash
Um,
magical girl adaptations.
it doesn't really like make any sort of like commentary on that. It kind of just sort of is like
Yeah, yeah.
play.
That it's
Yeah,
like part of the setting. It's
it's like
part of
played
the
off as
setting.
a joke.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
The like
I feel like
mascot
in a
character.
way, I was just gonna say, I feel like in a way, it's kind of like an excuse to be like, yeah, like nothing serious is actually happening. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
there's
there
nothing
are
really
no
like on the
stakes.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The mascot character for like the good magical girls is like they literally like call him like their manager, right? And you know it's sort of implied that he's like managing multiple other groups of magical girls, so there's sort of some sort of like
Yeah.
you know, market for this or like an industry of sorts. Um, but yeah, it's semi-episodic. A lot of it's comedy. Um, there's a tiny sort of hint of progression, right? Because, like I said, the main character is sort of coming out of her shell by sort of embracing this more outgoing and like
Mm.
you know sadistic dom personality
It's
that she
almost like the
has.
other part of Shy, right? It's like the other half of Shy anime
Right,
from
right.
last season, where it's like, yeah.
Um, and then the magical girls themselves sort of have like these like different um I guess like feelings on the like incredibly sexual nature of the interactions that they have with the main character, right? Like one of them the blue girl, like one of the earlier fights, she gets like blindfolded and sort of like um
She likes it.
yeah, it ends up like it ends up basically like by the end of it like she fucking comes and she's like the main
Yeah.
character at the end is like next time we'll have even more fun.
Oh
And then
boy.
it's like yeah, like that's like the only thing that she could think about or whatever. Um and like the blue one sort of ends up like getting into it. Um the pink one is like I think at this point is like sort of kind of like reluctantly sort of like tsundere type getting into it. Um, and then I think the yellow one is like at this point the only one that's left that's kind of like serious about being a magical girl. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, it's a pretty fun show. It's pretty funny. Um, I feel like ecchi series recently have been painfully like not funny. You know what I mean? Like they haven't
Hmm.
really had jokes outside of like,
Well, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah, like
they've tried
here's a
to.
butt, here's boobs. You know what I mean?
Here's white liquid, yeah, all over
Yeah,
their face. What? Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like I think all of the authors are chained. Is this the right word to say it? It's they feel obligated to write it in a way that they think the audience can quote unquote understand, right? So they kind of generally put it in that structure, but then all they want to do in their cum Latin brain is just write the fan or draw rather the fan service or write the fan
yeah,
service, whatever, right? And so they're all focused on 90% just writing the fan service, but they still kind of infuse that in a structure where they have to toss out obligatory slapstick comedy and obligatory, oh, I got this toothpaste all of my
yeah,
face. Oh, and it looks like, semen or whatever, right? And that very much almost detracts and certainly doesn't add, right, to the series at hand because as you said, it's not very funny. Like the
yeah.
50th I got milk on my face, sorry,
And it's also like
gag is not great.
the sort of like misunderstanding trope that a lot of these ecchi series sort of play
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
It kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
shuts down any sort of character interaction. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, because the gag has to play out and then they have to
yeah,
move
because
on to the next
the
scene.
idea
The
is
scene has
like,
to end. The scene
yeah,
has to end.
the only things the character can really do is go like, oh, like this is embarrassing or this
What?
is
And then
awkward,
she
right?
gets slapped and then
Yeah,
next scene. Scene
and
is
then it's
ended.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't really continue, you can't really riff off of that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, you can't you
oh,
can't
like,
you can't you can't sit there while the girl puts, her panties back
yeah,
on and then they're not continue the
oops, I
conversation.
didn't mean to fall on your face with my ass. How about we riff back and forth while I do that? It's like, no, it's
Yeah,
like that
yeah, yeah.
the thing happens, and then the
She
scene
gets
is
slapped.
over, right?
Yeah, and the
Um,
scene. Yeah.
yeah. Whereas
Exactly, exactly. Good
with
point.
this, it's like there's the magical girl stuff, which is the fan service, right?
Yeah.
And there's also character interactions within that, because you have the dynamic of the main character, Utena, being the villain,
Yeah.
and then the the magical girls are sort of this, uh, like the force, as opposed to like being an antagonizing force, they are a
Mhm.
force to be antagonized, right?
You're right,
Um,
right, right.
and so you have that, but then you also have the scenes, the more like slice of life, comedy scenes outside of the magical girl stuff, like
Yeah.
when she's just sort of being a bit of a loser and a bit of a dork at school, or hanging out with um, some of the friends she makes, which are like the other like villains, the other like evil magical girls, which are all really fun like encounters. Um, yeah, I don't know. This is just kind of a good comedy series, but also it's an etchy,
Has
right?
the yeah.
Um,
I think what kind of I know you said during the preview show that you were initially interested due to the designs, right? The visual designs.
yeah, yeah,
But I know I'm glad that it can kind of continue to provide watchability value for you because of the actual comedy or the actual tangible unique
yeah.
comedy.
The actual like
Yeah.
substance of the show.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, 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 yeah. And
but
I'm glad also you pointed that out because I didn't I never thought of it that way, but it's like it's so true where the moment the whole like lucky I think uh in Japan, like the trope is called like Lucky Skibe or Lucky Mutsuri or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? And it's like Rito accidentally pulling down his sister's panties or whatever it is, right? Mikan's panties into Love Ru or whatever, right? Tripping over and seeing their naked forms or
Why'd you have
whatever,
to
right?
say? Why'd you have to bring up Mikan? That's weird.
Because that's the literal like
Why does it have?
stereotype that
Why does it
everybody
have to be
brings up.
Mikan? Why not? Why not the main girl or Golden Darkness or Kotegawa Yui? But you had to bring up Mikan. What's up with
Because
that,
that is
my man?
literally the example every single person always brings up when they refer to Tolovru.
The little
Like,
sister? That's weird, dude.
yeah, it is, I guess, weird, but it's the example that everybody uses. So
It's the
whatever.
truth.
Um, yeah. But anyways, that is not the point. But
Um.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like it's terminal, right? It's like the moment that happens, the girl goes, yeah. The slap happens, scene, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, because
I do
what is
like
Yeah.
the
the
yes
point that
and gonna be to that? Like, what's the
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
Um.
yeah, I do like that. But
But yeah, like this series definitely managed to avoid that sort of ecchi dilemma, right?
yeah.
By having a fairly unique premise, I think.
But
Um,
near. Is it better than Ishizoku reviewers?
absolutely, yes.
That's such a low bar. Holy shit.
Yeah. By
That's such a
by
low
by
bar, and
a
also
fucking mile easily.
Don't you remember near that
No,
one
the
hyena
problem with
girl
it,
had a wiener? Was that
Wow.
one of the problem with Ishizoku reviewers is that its trivia was dog shit. Like,
yeah, pretty
trivia
much.
was fucking terrible. Like,
I
It
mean,
was not
it
good.
was just a fucking bootleg version of like Monster Musume or like Monster Girl Quest
Yeah,
or
the Monster
something.
Musume encyclopedia or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck it was,
nah,
right?
I mean, I wouldn't even know. Yeah, I would say Monster Girl Quest, like not even Monster Musume, like.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
there was like no
Mhm.
substance. It's like you may as well just read the fucking journal entries.
Yeah. But
Who's
yeah,
your
as for
favorite? If you brought that up, who's your favorite monster girl from Monster Girl Quest?
I am
the
not going to
moth.
answer that question.
that is a dangerous question.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
know
Wait,
some
good.
can you?
people like the crab girl, and I'm like, that's cool, dude.
I'm gonna yeah, I'm not gonna answer that actually. Anyways,
Huh?
Nier, what can you give us comment on the audio visuals
Um, yeah, so this is Asahi
post by BED?
Productions, right?
Yeah.
Um, they've what have they even done recently? They
Most
did,
most of their work have been like in between and like animation assistants, but I know that they did
yeah.
like a couple of series where they were the actual main studio,
Have they
right?
done like
And the behind
made
the scenes.
recently? What is this B project? Fujo shit. Um, some Chinese shit.
Classic.
What was this? Oh, a Galaxy Next Door. They did. I think that was their most like
Oh,
recent
Giant Beast of
like
Ours. I think
yeah.
didn't you cover that actually? It was
Yes.
the
Yeah, I did.
yeah.
Yeah, the bootleg Grand Blue.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
also cover? No,
With the backwards
I forget
hand.
if it was you who covered or whether it was Toast who covered Girls Frontline anime.
That was there.
One of you covered,
Yeah, I
right?
think that was me. Yeah.
Okay.
Girls
So
Frontline looked a bit bootleg. I think
yeah.
I think this looks pretty decent. It kind of is like it's like a couple steps up from like a really good like hentai series. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know what you mean.
Near, since you brought that up, what are you comparing it to?
I mean, I feel
I
like
mean,
the most
I just said
so
Ishizoku reviewers, so
so I don't watch many like hentai anime, I'll be honest, because most of them are
Mm.
bad.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
like
fair.
my bar for like a decent to good one was what was it, the Elf no Mori one that came out?
Scuba Elf no More. Near, that's
Yeah,
good.
I think that one was
That's good
I think that one
shows.
was really good. I'd say this is like a step or two above that. Um, so it's not bad, right? It's pretty decent, but it's not like crazy, right? Like the action sequences, while to be fair, aren't really like the crux of the series. Um, they aren't exactly lookers, right? Like it's kind of a lot of smoke and like basically stuff that they don't really have to animate, right?
Right.
An explosion happens and then suddenly the girls are tied up or whatever, or there's a cutaway or something. It's not too animated, but the art style is good. The colors are nice. The eyes, I'd say, are fairly pretty. Like the way they're drawn. Um, yeah, overall, it's very serviceable.
Mhm.
As for the audio, um, it's decent. The soundtrack's pretty standard, relatively forgettable. I'd say the OP is really generic, really boring. Um, it's 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 not great. It's what is this? My Dream Girls by Nacheri. Um, I think they're like an idol duo or something.
Mhm.
The ED, however, is pretty cute. It's
Oh, okay.
sung by the I think the three evil magical girls.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, it's what is it? Toge Toge Sadistic, um, by Enormita, and Enormita is like the evil organization in this series. So pretty sure it's the trio of like the evil magical girls. And it's pretty cute. As for the voice acting, it's pretty good. There are a lot of newcomers in this series. I think almost like fucking everybody in this is a newcomer except for like what is it? Koka is probably the most notable name on here. Uh,
Mhm.
Asumi Kana is obviously not a newcomer. Misato
Maida
Fukuen,
Maida Kaori also did she's been actually popping up quite a lot recently,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
She
um,
start I think her breakout role I think was make Wake Up Girls if I remember correctly, but she really kind of became popular with Horse Girls, right? Uma Musume,
yeah, yeah.
if I remember correctly. But
But other than that,
yeah.
the main character Utena is a newcomer. I think
Yes.
she, yeah, this is her first main role. The only credited role she has before this is some other character from Potion. I
Yeah,
should survive using potions.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and then um, who was I looking at? Oh yeah, the yellow magical girl is voiced by Misaki Ikeda, whose only role before this is village boy in My Hero Academia.
yeah.
So
She got
step
a
up.
good break. She got a
Yeah,
fucking good break.
it's
Yeah.
step up, I think. But yeah, there's
Uh,
quite a few newcomers in here. They're all quite good. Um, though you know, a lot of it is like moaning.
yeah.
um, but yeah, they do a good job, I think. I think this is
Honestly, if
overall,
she, if you said yeah, Izumi Fuka, right, who
yeah,
voiced Hiragi Utena, the main, I guess, like evil villain for the series.
she does a
I
really good
think
job. Like I think
yeah,
she's
I think
really, really good.
she has a good. I think she could be up for contention for probably best newcomer of the year
Yeah, easily.
yeah, if she sets up for another role too. But yeah, and I think yeah, she's already supposed to be. Apparently, she's already on online for another main role in another
Yeah,
series next season. So yeah,
yeah,
she definitely
some
is
racing
strong
thing, I
contender.
think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Overall, I think this is a surprisingly really good show. Um, I
Yeah, I'm
think,
surprised that you ended up picking it too. I was surprised during the preview,
yeah. I
actually.
mean, I like ecchi series, right?
Mhm.
I think um, stuff like High School of the Dead, High School
Mhm.
DD, um, even like Triage
I think the
X,
main thing
right?
is that those series have
They
kind
have
of
they
ended
have
up
like other stuff going on, right?
well, I think also a lot of them have gone by the wayside is what I want to say. And what I mean by that is that a lot of these like harem series, right? Are either or not harem, but like stuff like the etchy stuff, right? Have either
Yeah,
become very vanilla harem rom-com in order to be able to sell more mainstream multimedia content. Like even if you see like the visual novels of something like say Data Life, right? It's like a lot of that isn't really um it's purposefully geared towards more mainstream otaku, quote unquote, right?
yeah.
And
I-
Mass
specifically
Is
I'm
market.
thinking
Data Live mainstream? I've never heard that before.
It's relatively mainstream compared to. I
Uh,
mean, it's
to be
I mean,
a
it's
fair,
series where
pretty.
you have the
I think
poster
it's
art here
pretty
and
like
there.
lowest common denominator, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fair, most Data Life fans I know speak Spanish, so I don't
Yeah,
know if that
but
help means anything.
yeah, but it's like you don't see just like random etchy scenes of Data Live like everywhere, right? Like not something like
Uh,
again like here.
from the VNs, or yeah, I do.
Like maybe you'd have like a couple one or two scenes from like fan discs or like if routes or
Eh,
whatever, right? But it's like in
You
like
mean the
most of the
official
mainstream
Data Live
media.
one, Spire?
In terms of like most of the like the anime, the novels, the like I would say probably the mainstream like PSP discs, stuff like that, you would not see something like this, right? You would not see something like this. And it's either split between that or like the real like a lot of the grungy stuff these days comes out from the sort of revenge fantasy, power fantasy, isekai
Yeah,
stuff that again you hate, right? So
yeah,
it's a little bit unfortunate because a lot of this line of stuff specifically has died out. You're
yeah.
not getting
It's
the Love
pretty
Hinas
rare.
anymore. Yeah.
Um, and it definitely like this series definitely kind of feels like a trip back in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
Like
is I think
yeah.
sort of a bit of the novelty that I have with this, a bit of the enjoyment. Um, you know, you don't really get stuff like this anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, overall, I think this is really good. Um, it feels a bit weird giving like something that's largely marketed as like an ecchi series for fucking perverts a high score, but I'd probably give this like an 8. I think this is a generally
It's
good.
good form inside its like actual structure that it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Again.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um,
Which is
but
good.
yeah, I think it's not really an easy recommend because there's like fucking tits out and they're like doing
Mhm.
they're doing like BDSM shit.
Uh-huh.
Um, but if you like fan service shit, um, if you like sort of more I guess lewd comedy, this is definitely up your alley. And
Mhm.
maybe if you just like Yuri comedy series, right? Maybe check this out, right? Because
Mhm.
I think looks can be deceiving when it comes to this one, right? I think there's a bit
Right, right.
more like substance than you might expect. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good show.
Don't judge a book by its cover kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank you very much, Nier. Again, this is known as Mahou Shoujo ni Akogarete, also known as Gushing Over Magical Girls. So, uh, I think this is a manga original. Yeah, manga
yeah,
original, but it was like web manga. Yeah, web
yeah,
manga initially. I got published, or and it obviously it became adapted into this anime series. Surprisingly good if you like this sort of lane of series. Obviously, very rare these days. I think obviously to find this sort of stuff again, you'd either have to go really enjoy kind of the usual isekai kind of stuff, or you'd have to be content with vanilla. But obviously, throwback to the old days, as Nier said. So if you don't enjoy this kind of thing, please do check it out.